Welcome everybody to the Defence Innovation Loans webinar. My name is Anna Taylor. I am an innovation partner at DASA, the Defence and Security Accelerator, and today we're going to take you through lots of information you need to know about if you are considering applying for a Defence Innovation Loan. So this is the agenda for the day. In a moment I will give you a brief overview of DASA, talking about some of the opportunities that are available in addition to the Defence Innovation Loans. Then we'll have 15 minutes from my colleague Tracy North, who's the DASA Business Growth and Finance Lead, and she'll give you an introduction to the Defence Innovation Loans from the DASA side of the application process. Then we'll have 30 minutes from Jemima Jones, who's an investment specialist for Innovate UK, and she'll give you some in-depth information on submitting an application to Innovate UK from her side of the process. So let's move on to an overview of DASA. And with all these presentations in the webinar today, you'll find our contact details on the last slide. So you can always get in touch with any queries or other questions that arise. So I'd like to give you a bit of background about DASA. DASA came into formation back in 2016 following a strategic defence and security review, and that review set out the challenges that defence and national security organisations were facing from a world of rapid and fundamental change, and DASA was launched in December of that year as part of a defence innovation initiative to address this. It was created by the Ministry of Defence as a cross-government organisation, so what that means is we work closely with the MOD, frontline commands and UK government security departments. It was particularly set up to help the government access innovative ideas, in particular those that could help maintain national security, that help keep UK citizens safe, and which support the drive to maintain an advantage over our adversaries. And it was recognised that many of those great ideas will come from organisations outside of the UK government. So we were set up to increase the pace at which those great ideas can be turned into a capability, to compress the timeline taken to get those capabilities into the hands of end users. And what this means is we work with innovators to match new ideas to real-world requirements across defence and security, and the way we do this is through various funding mechanisms and services to support the development of those capabilities. That could be development work from proof of concept through to prototyping to demonstration of the idea. And innovators who've been funded by DASA can also access exploitation and commercialisation support. Generally speaking, the types of innovations that DASA funds are those which could provide a step change in capability rather than, say, an incremental improvement, and ones that can provide a benefit over what's currently possible, and also ideas that have a requirement to be developed specifically for a defence or security end use case. And this is DASA's mission statement. We find and fund exploitable innovation to support UK defence and security quickly and effectively, and to support UK prosperity. So this diagram shows a simple overview of how DASA works with innovators. DASA sits almost as a broker between you, the innovator community, developing ideas, and the customers who have challenges and a requirement for new capabilities. DASA has an outreach team whose role it is to find ideas and support innovators to access the funding and navigate the services available via DASA. We're looking to match the very best ideas with current capability gaps, and in particular those which are a priority for the customer. This slide just shows a sample of some of the customers who've worked with DASA, and you can see the range right across a wide spectrum of defence and security areas. And we also sometimes collaborate with overseas defence and security organisations as well. It's not essential for you to have worked in defence or security previously, and we're keen to hear from non-traditional suppliers who may have ideas that can be applied in a defence and security context. So how do you know if your idea is a good fit for DASA? Well, we're open to applications from any size of organisation. You could be a one-person organisation, an SME, all the way up to a large enterprise. We're open to anyone with a good idea, so that could be private sector companies, SMEs, third sector organisations, academia and research organisations, or spin-outs, for example. We're interested in any type of science and technology, including behavioural and social sciences, and products and services could be a range of maturity levels, depending on what the customer is seeking at the time. It could be next generation, generation after next ideas, or perhaps you've got a well-established technology being used in one sector that hasn't previously been applied to a defence or security sector and needs some different development work. We'll explore any exploitation pathway across defence and security, including routes to commercialisation, routes to market, and we've got a wide remit to work across UK defence in the air, sea, land and space domains, and also in security services such as the police, border force and emergency services. Whilst the Defence Innovation Loans are for UK SMEs, most of DASA's funding competitions are also open to overseas applicants, or you could be collaborating with a UK or an international organisation. So why do innovators choose to work with us? The DASA process was set up to make it easier for innovators to work with government customers. We offer a range of benefits to help organisations and businesses succeed. We have a team of innovation partners covering the breadth of the UK who offer advice to innovators wherever they're based, so do contact us before you submit a bid. The intellectual property ownership remains with the innovator. It's generally a quick and simple contracting process for those who have been successful in competition. And if you do deliver a project through DASA, you'll get a project manager assigned to you and a technical partner to support you through project delivery. There's post-funding support to help you pull those ideas through to impact. And the majority of our competitions, the funding is 100% funded, so there's no match funding required. What you get is a contract, not a grant. So this slide gives you a brief overview of all the opportunities available through DASA. You can see we offer a wide range of funding competitions and mechanisms to fit business needs and ambitions through from finding the innovation, funding ideas and building the business behind those ideas. So I'm not going to go into all of these in detail today because it's only a brief overview. But I will mention the innovation portal where you can access our ideas marketplace. That's an opportunity for innovators to upload an abstract of their idea. They can go find other innovators to collaborate with, and it's also a portal through which customers can look at ideas that are being uploaded on there. So do take a look at that. And moving on to how we fund innovation, the two main areas which I'm going to cover today in a bit more depth is the open call for innovation and themed competitions. The open call is a great opportunity for you to approach DASA with an idea where you propose a solution that needs developing. And typically projects that are funded through the open call are for in the region of around about £250,000 to £350,000. We also run themed competitions. And this is a very different scenario where we have a customer with a very clear set of challenges and we put those ideas to the innovator community for you to respond with a proposal to solve those problems. In the past, we've also run a defence technology exploitation programme. This is currently closed, but that was there to provide a grant of up to £500,000 for ideas where a UK SME is working with a top tier supplier to get an idea into the defence supply chain. We also have a team whose role it is to support the business behind the idea to increase the likelihood it'll be commercialised and get into the hands of the end users. And you'll hear more from Tracy and Jemima later about the Defence Innovation Loans. And I mentioned we have an open call competition. Now this is open throughout the year. We run it in cycles, and this allows DASA to find proposals and good ideas that address a range of challenges faced by a range of government customers and stakeholders. It gives the innovators the opportunity to present their ideas at any time without waiting for a relevant themed competition. If you'd like to see what the open call could cover in terms of maturity of ideas, of other criteria, you should look at our website or get in touch with an innovation partner. And within the open call, we also routinely run specific innovation focus areas where we have some enduring challenge areas. And if the open call is of interest, I strongly suggest to innovators that you speak to an innovation partner for a bit of advice and guidance before submitting a proposal. And I also mentioned our themed competitions, which allow defence and security customers to reach into industry and academia to find novel ideas for specific challenges. Themed competitions are often designed around specific requirements. They're usually only open for a fixed window of time, typically 6 to 8 weeks, so if you see one that's relevant to your idea, do act sooner rather than later. They're often for a very clear scope and often have multiple sub-challenges associated with that competition. They're usually multi-phase, so later stages of the competition will often seek higher maturity ideas. And themed competitions are 100% funding. And it's worth noting that when we launch a new competition, we typically have a launch event, and there's also opportunities to book a one-to-one to discuss your specific idea. We often have demonstration and marketplace events at the end of the competitions to help bring ideas and customers together. And for those innovators who've been successfully funded by DASA, we also have some post-funding support available. We've got a dedicated team who are here to provide support such as business mentoring, the They can work one-to-one with innovators, helping you understand the obstacles you might face when trying to grow your business. They can provide insight on how to develop your organisation, get it ready for investment, for partnering and procurement, for example. And they can help you access further funding. They can help demystify the funding landscape and support innovators in accessing the funding required to grow and scale a business as well.
Hello everybody, my name's Tracy North and I'm the Business Growth and Finance Lead here at DASA. Today I'm going to talk you through Defence Innovation Loans, how we operate them and what support and help my team can give you in that process. So my team helps support the business behind the innovation that DASA has funded so that they can successfully grow their business to be ready to commercialise their idea and ultimately be able to be capable of supplying into defence. One of the ways that we're able to do this is through the Defence Innovation Loans. So I'm going to talk you through a little bit about eligibility, how to apply for the loans, what we look for in our part of the application and how that process works. And Innovate will cover their part separately, and I'm also going to give you some top tips on applying in. So firstly, who can apply? Who's eligible? You must be a UK registered SME. So you must have a presence in the UK and you must have a limited company registered at Companies House to be able to apply in. Predominantly, you must intend to exploit the results of your work in the UK, or if it's overseas, you need to be able to show that you can make a significant and positive impact on the UK economy and or productivity. So example, if you're producing in the UK but exporting to defence overseas, that's something that would probably be eligible, but we can talk you through all that. So it also needs to be, your TRL needs to be for defence only. So unlike the open and themed calls that DASA runs that are open to defence and security in the main and open to wider academia, these loans are specifically for SMEs in the UK and specifically for those with a defence end use. So your innovation must generally be at technology readiness level 6 or above, and this is to ensure that the solution can be commercialised within the timescale of the innovation loan and give you the best chance of getting your product to market. You need to present a viable opportunity for growth of the company and how your sales will grow, and a level of innovation that necessitates public sector investment. So i.e. you can't get that finance elsewhere through traditional routes. That can be for a number of reasons. It could be that the defence sector and the type of technology that you're having difficulty with that. It could also be the stage of your business and your business growth. But happy to chat all that through with you. So Innovate UK will look at the company performance, and you need to be able to show them that you can cover the interest each quarter, repay the loan on time, and as I've just mentioned, need that public funding. And again, they will cover some of that in their presentation shortly. So the process itself, how to apply. I'm going to give you a brief overview of the process. The application link is on our website, and the competition document gives you all the details of what we look for in the application under various headings. I'm going to touch on those now, and the application form itself has the details of that as well. So Innovate UK will cover in their presentation what they look for in the financial analysis that they look for and the business questions that they ask about your business. And they're also running a series of workshops that you can attend to help with this, and details of that are on the website. So Innovate UK will undertake an initial credit triage and a look at your application, and at the same time DASA will assess our side of the application. Following that, we'll get together, and if the information's been reviewed and we both agree that the project is eligible and it's one that should proceed to the next step, then Innovate UK will undertake an in-depth credit analysis of your application on the financial side. They'll do some sensitivity checks. I'm sure they'll talk you through some of those details shortly. And they also do the admin for the loan for us. They do all the anti-money laundering, PEP and Know Your Customer checks for us and issue all the paperwork. And following a successful drawdown, they will apply a monitoring officer to your project who will review this on a quarterly basis with you. If you're unsuccessful at any part of these stages, you will get detailed feedback, and happy to discuss that at the time. So the application process itself. Step one, as I said, is go to the DASA website, read all the guidance, make sure you read it thoroughly before you start the application form to see what is needed. And I suggest you get your information together before you start. And on that form, there is also the link, which I'll cover off shortly, to apply to the Innovate part of the process. So the first part of the application is just an overview. We ask for an abstract, which is summarising your innovation. And it's just a short piece so that we can see in general what it is that's innovative and who would be the right assessors to assess your application. So in terms of assessors that we approach, we use scientific assessors and experts within the STL who have the relevant knowledge to assess the technology of your innovation. And we also reach out to potential end users to see whether it's something that would be of interest to Defence. So they need that high level summary of what it is that your innovation does. We also then ask for a value proposition statement and a description of what should be included, and that is in our website. But basically, a good value proposition statement communicates what the problem is to be solved, how you'll solve it, and the clear benefits to the Defence user. So, for example, will it be quicker, cheaper, lighter, more robust than what's already available? Those sort of things can go in there. And that all feeds into the desirability part of your application. So who's going to benefit it within Defence from your technology? As part of that, you need to look at the strategic fit, explain the business need for that technology and what challenge or market opportunity it will solve, and describe the impact in Defence terms of performance, time and cost. Some of the things that I touched on in the value proposition statement, but you'd be looking to expand on those. If you're already speaking to any end users, which if your technology is at TRL 6, we would anticipate that you would already be engaged with potential end users to have gauged that interest in your technology for Defence. You can put their details in there. There's no need to include specific names, but the department, if your innovation has dual use outside of Defence, then it's also relevant to include that in this part, because a lot of occasions we're looking for that dual use for you to be able to get the commercial traction and scalability of your business and your idea. So it's important that you put that in your Innovate UK application, but it's also important that you mention that in the desirability piece here. But key to this bit is us finding the right assessors who will assess your application. So make sure you put all that in there. You should think carefully about what you add, because we will use this detail to in a searchable extract to be able to circulate this across Defence to see if there's any interest in your idea. Second part is we moved on to the feasibility, and this is the main technical part of your application, and it's the bit that the experts within DSTL will be closely examining. It is okay to put technical detail in there because they will understand it, because they're going to be assessing whether it's technically feasible. So within that, we'll consider whether it's practically feasible as well, and have you and your team got the necessary knowledge and expertise to deliver that as well. So we're looking for evidence in there of that. We need to see evidence that shows how your idea could work. So if it's at TRL 6, you'll have already done trials and testing, so include details of what you've already done, but also importantly the work that you will do as part of this loan application and where that will take the technology to. So you need some technical credibility in there. You also need to cover off the innovation and risk, and there's a separate part on risk as well, which I'll cover shortly. And what expertise and capability have you got within your business? So who will do what what expertise have they already got. If there's any gaps you'll have to recruit for, mention how you will recruit for that and how easy it is to recruit for that. And the last part of that 3-part desirability, feasibility and viability is how viable is this that you will get this product to market, and the costs and value for money. So evidence that your idea can be developed during the initial period of the loan, and that they can then be subsequently commercialised. How will you commercialise it? That sort of thing. There's a breakdown of all the questions related to this on the application form and in the summary of the application document. So we're looking for that strong evidence there, and if possible include a commercial plan, or just a brief overview of it, and how that marries in with the technical milestones that you're going to achieve with each of these drawdowns. That will enable our assessors to look at value for money and whether the costs are realistic and whether they will achieve the outcomes that you have stated. You then get on to step 3, section D, which is about the Innovate UK loan request. So you'll be taken through to their site with a link where you'll be asked to fill in your business forecasts, financial details, and a series of questions about your business. Innovate UK will cover them in their presentation in detail. And Innovate UK will evaluate your business viability, its potential to generate income, and therefore prove that it's likely to be able to successfully repay this loan. We've then got a short bit on your finance and drawdown schedule, so how much you need at each stage of the drawdowns quarterly in advance, that you can make those. It's really important here that you ensure that the content aligns with what you have submitted to Innovate UK on their application form for our assessors to be able to evaluate against the previous information that you've given about feasibility, and we can work out using that the value for money, whether your budgets are feasible, and your likely capability of meeting any deadlines within that. There's also a short risk schedule that I mentioned previously, and it asks you to assess any risks, technical and project and other, that you may encounter, and what mitigations that you will put in place for those. And there's a couple of other things that you need to include details on if they're applicable, and usually by TRL 6 you know whether they're likely to be. So if your work is including testing on human participants, then you'll need to consider whether you need to apply for ModRec from the Ethics Committee for that approval to be able to test in that environment. And it might be that you need to use some what we class as government furnished assets, so equipment, defence equipment, testing on the front line, that sort of thing. And if that's the case, you just need to fill in those details, and we can arrange that if you need that to be arranged, but I would suggest that that's a conversation that needs to happen before you put in for your loan application. So finally, from me, a few top tips. Aim for it to be assessed within an hour. All our assessors are allocated 90 minutes to be able to review, analyse, understand and fully evaluate your application, and to be able to give feedback to us on that and what their recommendation would be. So when reviewing your proposal, make sure you consider thoroughly, if it only takes some minutes to read, maybe there's a lack of information in there. If it takes you too long to read through, will the assessors be able to read and understand everything in that time? Make sure you've got clear and concise answers in there, providing the appropriate amount of information. Importantly, if you've made assumptions in this, justify them, say why, say more about them, so that we're not left guessing as to why you've put that piece of information in there. Give us the background behind it. There is a word count within each section, so make sure you stick within that. Make sure everything within your application matches up with the Innovate UK application that you've submitted. Don't leave it to the last minute. We often get people having technical glitches at the last minute, and the competition will close at midday on the closing date, so please make sure that you've got it in well before that time, so any glitches could be ironed out if you came across them. And important to know that once you've submitted it, you then can't go in and make any changes. And lastly, please make sure you've spoken to a member of the Business Growth and Finance team before you submit an application or before you even start an application, because we can talk through those eligibility criteria, answer any questions you may have, and make sure that you've got the best chance of putting a really good application in. So good luck, and please do reach out to us if you've got any queries at all.
Hi everyone, my name's Jemima, an investment specialist and part of the origination team at Innovate UK. For this part of the presentation, I'll be talking specifically about how to submit the crucial business and financial information to help Innovate UK understand your suitability to take on a loan. So to start with, what are innovation loans? Innovation loans are there to help businesses to access funding for late-stage R&D, where there's a clear route to commercial success, for scaling rather than starting businesses, and those that are credit constrained and innovative and growth orientated. It's a loan for single SME applicants only, so individuals, academic institutions, research organisations, and large organisations are not eligible. The loans that we can offer are up to 100% of the eligible project costs for that later stage R&D project, and in return you commit to pay us interest and to repay the loan. The loan can be between £100,000 and £1 million. The loan is up to 7 years and it's structured in a way that we hope is both flexible and suitable for R&D based activity, and is also patient. The interest rate is fixed at 7.4%, and we believe that to be below market rate of interest. And during the availability and extension period, half of that interest is deferred, so it's added onto the principal at the start of the repayment period and is paid back at that time. We also don't charge any fees, so this is a form of subsidy. It's a senior secured loan. We'll take a debenture, however, we don't require any personal guarantees from directors or shareholders. And we're a senior secured lender, though, and we have some simple covenants. Throughout the loan period, you need to demonstrate liquidity, so having current assets more than current liabilities. And during the repayment period, you need to be able to show us that you can service and cover the debt, with a service coverage ratio that looks at your EBITDA, so your operating profits, exceeding your debt service. In terms of interest and principal repayment in that period, that needs to be 1.2 times, so you should be expecting to reach profitability by the repayment period starting. The loan is structured in 3 parts. The availability period is when you're carrying out that late stage R&D project. You'll be drawing down the loan quarterly in advance to fund the eligible costs of that R&D project, alongside interest, which is 3.7% payable each quarter by direct debit, and 3.7% is deferred to the start of the repayment period. The maximum length of this time of the part of the loan is up to 3 years, and during that period you'll be monitored by a monitoring officer and our portfolio team that will look at the financial health of your business. The extension period is when the R&D activity is complete, but you're carrying out that pre-commercial activity for you to get to market. There'll be no further drawdowns of the loan and there won't be any repayments yet. This period ends either when we've agreed to it in the loan agreement or earlier when you get the first commercial sale as a result of exploiting this R&D project. There will be interest payable quarterly in arrears on the amount that you borrowed, so again that's 3.7% cash payable, and 3.7% is deferred to the repayment period. The maximum length of time for this part of the loan is up to 2 years, and again you'll be monitored by the monitoring officer as well as our portfolio team. The repayment period is when there's no further drawdowns permitted and you'll be repaying the amount that you've borrowed. The deferred interest that you haven't paid in the project period and interest on those amounts is at 7.4%. Interest is calculated on a quarterly level payment so that you can monitor that from a budgeting point of view, and the maximum period for this part of the loan is 5 years. You'll no longer have a monitoring officer, but our portfolio team will still be closely monitoring to ensure the financial health of your business and ensure that you're meeting those crucial financial covenants. The maximum term of the loan is 7 years. So as you can see, if you max out on each of these 3 periods, it doesn't add up to 7. So ultimately, you need to make a decision as to how long each period of the loan should be. So for example, you could have an R&D phase of up to 2 years, and then you could have an extension period of 1 year, and then you could have a repayment period of up to 4 years, and that still equals 7. So now we'll discuss the terms of the loan. We take debenture, so that's a fixed and floating charge over the overall assets of your business, and we won't take personal guarantees, though we will be prepared to enter into a deed of priority where you have an existing senior secured commercial lender, or you wish in future to take on senior debt. At that point, we're prepared to allow that senior commercial lender to have priority ahead of ourselves, effectively subordinating our position, but we would have conversations with you about that should you be successful and get a loan offer when we're drawing up our loan agreement. I'd stress if you have loans from shareholders or directors or others who participate in the upside, we expect those loans to be subordinated behind ours or to be unsecured, for example, in the case of convertible loan notes. Although we do take security and it covers all your assets, both tangible and intangible, we don't place valuation on those assets. So we don't have the loan to value ratios in the way that many commercial lenders or asset finance based lenders would have. We assume that your security is effectively not worth anything, and we don't place a value on it. But we do hope that there may be some recovery if things don't go to plan. In terms of the financial covenants, the liquidity ratio is essential throughout the loan period, and that needs to exceed 1.1 times throughout the loan period. So your current assets, cash debtors, inventories, etc. need to exceed your current liabilities, trade creditors, short-term bank loans, overdrafts, etc. by 10% throughout the loan period, and we'll test that quarterly. In the repayment period only, you will need to meet a debt service coverage ratio. This is a minimum of 1.2 times, so your cash EBITDA, your operating profits, must exceed your interest and debt payments on all your debt by 20%. We'll monitor the project to ensure that you have the best chance of delivering your project successfully, as well as making sure that things are monitored from a compliance point of view, and we'll require you to provide us with quarterly management information so that we can continue to monitor the financial health of your business. And you'll also need to provide us with annual accounts within 6 months of your year end. So let's go into the crucial business and financial information you need to provide us. And this is really critical in helping to understand if your business is suitable to take on a significant long-term loan commitment. So there are 78 questions which we've worked with Early Metrics to develop. Some of these are short, some of them are multiple choice, and some are longer narrative-based questions. And all of the questions have guidance to support you in answering these questions. It's critical that you spend the time to complete these, and this is looking at the business as a whole and really supports us with our decision making. So whilst the project aspect of the application focuses on the project only, these questions are looking at your business as a whole. We're really interested in your business as a whole. So what's your product offering, your value proposition? How will the project impact this? Also information on your loan request, how the company is structured, including the management team, what experience they have, the management structure, any commercial activity, so what's your sales pipeline and your customer pipeline, any domestic and international information you could provide us. Also background about the product development, so what's the current TRL for the technology and your plans for future development. Also your finance and fundraising strategy, so for example if you might be looking at an equity raise down the line, and also thinking about growth challenges and any competitors and risks that you might be mitigating against and how that's embedded within your commercial plan. You must also download the financial information form, which is a spreadsheet template that you must complete and fully upload. There is again guidance on how to complete this, and it can be downloaded at the point of putting your application. We've also recorded a webinar specifically about how to complete that financial spreadsheet, and at the end I'll share a link with you in accessing that webinar. So we require you to provide historic information from the last 3 years and forecasts that cover the full term of the loan, including the extension and repayment period. So for example, if your loan is 7 years, your forecasts must be 7 years. So please don't forget to include the final year of your loan into your forecasts. Don't worry if you're pre-revenue and have only just begun trading. In the actuals, just give us as much figures as you can on the historic information that you do have. You must complete all elements of the balance sheet and cash flow. And in your profit and loss here, you need to make sure that you include turnover, then any grants or other income in the second row. Don't include any grants in the turnover. And you can include other R&D costs within the administration and other costs row. The loans interest row will automatically populate when you fill in a separate tab on the loan repayment calculator. On the balance sheet, please include all your working capital, including cash, debtors, creditors. If you have an existing borrowing, please include this or any director's loans. The innovation loan amounts will pre-fill when you fill in the loan repayment calculator tab. In your cash flow forecast, please include any capital raises you might be planning so that we can see any forward planning and how that fits within your overall finance and funding strategy. This is the repayment calculator tab, so you simply fill in your loan amount, how long each period of the loan will last, and how much you wish to draw down. This will then automatically populate the main first tab with your interest and drawdowns. We know that this is a standard Excel spreadsheet, and we use this to have a consistent approach when we're looking at all applications. And we understand that it's not a one size fits all, so we do expect you to fill in the mandatory tabs. There are a couple of optional tabs, but we do encourage you, if you want to add any additional tabs with any additional sales forecasts or assumptions or any financial models that you'd like the credit team to see when they're making their credit assessment, please do so. You can also add notes, comments, and additional tabs with any narrative to support the submission, so that when the credit team are looking at this, they can really get an understanding of all the underlying assumptions in the tab. We are running 3 deep dive workshops in the coming weeks, and this is where we'll give you really helpful tips when completing the financial information. Please do come along to these workshops to help you put in a strong position when completing these. And so use this link to sign up and register for those. We'll also be running another 3 workshops in September and October, so do look out for the date and links for those. Also recommend you, as I mentioned before, looking at the loans resources page, where we have a webinar that specifically goes through how to fill in the financial spreadsheet. So now let's discuss the application process from our perspective. So when the competition closes, as you've heard, the project part of the application and the quality of the innovation will go through Tracy's team for assessment. The business and financial part of the application goes through Innovate UK Loans Ltd for an initial high-level desktop initial credit evaluation. At this stage, we're looking at whether there's any red flags and any key areas of positives and negatives. And this credit specialist looking at it will then take their recommendation of whether to progress or decline to credit committee, who will ultimately make the final decision at this stage. We will then have a discussion with DASA to decide which applications progress to detailed credit evaluation, where they've achieved a pass from DASA in terms of the quality of the innovation, and they've also received a recommendation at the initial credit evaluation to progress. They then progress to detailed credit evaluation, where a member of the credit team will discuss directly with the applicant any gaps or more information. They'll also carry out sensitivity analysis to see different scenarios and how the financial model plays out in a very positive scenario, or perhaps if things were delayed. And so it's really important that we carry out that sensitivity analysis to understand all the various different scenarios and how they might play out. They'll then pull together a detailed report for the credit committee, who will make the final decision as to whether to progress or decline. If there's still questions from the credit committee, it may go to management presentation. This is a great opportunity for you to present to the credit committee to support their final decision. This slide summarises where we're looking for an ideal application. If you look at the left-hand side, the business has not given evidence they will be able to repay, and therefore it's likely that you'll be declined. On the right, the green side, the business may have cash, funding from the private sector, and therefore there's no real need for public funding and intervention. The sweet spot for us is where there's need, but they're also able to repay here in the middle. These are a couple of high-level observations from our credit team who have seen many applications since Innovation Loans began in 2017. So really make sure that you include information about your funding strategy. If you're hoping for any further equity raises in the future, please do tell us about that. Ensure that you have liquidity throughout the forecast. So we do expect you to have a 1.1 times liquidity ratio throughout the loans period. So you need to really evidence that within your financial forecasts. You need to provide justifiable forecasts with well-considered assumptions. So please do add any additional tabs or narratives or comments in the financial spreadsheet to back up those assumptions that you've made in the financial model. Consider any downside risks and how that might impact on the financials. Explain the value proposition and quantify this where possible. And also ensure that the financial spreadsheet is correct and complete. Please do engage with the links and resources made available to you today, and get in touch with the DASA Help Centre should you have any further questions. And if there's any specific questions related to the business and financial part of the application, the DASA team will direct them to us to support and answer. Thank you very much.
And we're now at the end of the session today. I'd like to thank Jemima and Tracy for their presentations, and I hope you all found this session useful and informative. Here's a reminder of our contact details for DASA if you've got any questions. The QR code will take you to the full details of the Defence Innovation Loans, and we look forward to hearing from you.